Dopamine detox, monk mode, dopamine fast, dopamine this, dopamine that. Now there is a lot of talk about dopamine nowadays, and if you are navigating around this space in self-improvement, you'll realize that there is a lot of hype around dopamine, but also a lot of confusion. You see all those YouTubers that preach how dopamine detox changed their lives, and quite honestly, you can follow those dopamine detox protocols, but you won't get lasting results if you don't understand the underlying principles that make dopamine detox truly work. And funny enough, for a long time I forced myself to stay away of this dopamine detox hype until I realized that I was unknowingly doing dopamine detox for years. So in this video I'm going to talk about how dopamine works and the common misconception that cause people to not get optimal results. Number 2, what is truly hijacking your dopamine levels? And number 3, how to do dopamine detox the correct way. So you want to pay close attention to this video and take notes and apply the information. So in my personal development journey, when I first came across those dopamine detox videos, there was so much hype around it, and I personally always has been someone that is interested in the principles, in the strategies, rather than the tactics and the quick fixes. But the topic of dopamine detox and dopamine in general has risen in popularity, and recently I've been listening a lot to Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist at Stanford, and he was talking about dopamine, and I thought, okay, there might be something to it, because I vaguely knew what dopamine detox was about, and I was quite understanding the basics of dopamine, so I got more serious about researching the topic of dopamine detox. So let's define what dopamine detox is about. Simply put, dopamine detox is abstaining from all the activities that raise our dopamine levels too high. Now the idea behind the detox is to stop being dependent on activities that rise your dopamine levels too high. For example, social media, video games, gambling, and other addictive behaviors. Now, to truly understand how dopamine detox works and how it can be effective, we have to first understand what dopamine is and how it works. To understand dopamine, you want to think of it like a gas pedal for your motivation and ambition. Just like a car that needs gas to keep moving, your brain needs a dose of dopamine to get fired up and actually work on your goals. For example, let's say you want to start an online business. And every time you make progress on your goals, your brain gives you a dopamine hit as a reward, which makes you feel good and keeps you motivated. On the other hand, when you don't feel like you're making progress, your dopamine level drops and it makes it harder for you to focus and stay motivated on your goals. To make it really simple, dopamine is the chemical in your brain that makes you feel happy and motivated to do the things that make you happy. Now, the biggest misconception about dopamine is that most people think dopamine is only responsible for pleasure and happiness. That is not true. When you anticipate a reward, your brain will release a lot of dopamine so that you get motivated to do the action. So dopamine is also very crucial in motivation. Now, the huge problem that we have in modern society is that our dopamine levels are being hijacked. Now, how society is structured and set out, we have a lot of entertainment. We are living in a day and age where we have so much information, we have so much comfort. And generally speaking, this is a good thing, but nowadays we have just too much stimulation. We have TV shows, we can really with a click just buy things and the next day it's delivered. So what that causes us is that our dopamine levels are getting hijacked. And by that I mean you have a baseline dopamine level. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, it is around 50. So 50 is a normal dopamine level. So when you feel good, you are around 50. Sometimes things that stimulate us too much can maybe get us to 70, but these are the healthy stimulations. But when we are talking about social media and the adult films, or we have this pandemic of addictions, and when we are exposed to those stimulations, what happens is our dopamine levels get higher and in an unnormal manner. So what that means is maybe your baseline is 50 and you watch these movies that I'm talking about and it goes around 120. But then what happens is you might feel good for a moment, but then when the pleasure is over, your baseline will slowly degress. And that's why most people that are addictive to social media, maybe TV shows, the movies that I'm talking about, and other intoxications and substances, is our baseline drops over time. And that's why you need more stimulation. Maybe you need to watch more stimulating videos in terms of YouTube videos, you need the fancy edits in order to keep your attention. That's how society has hijacked our dopamine levels, because most people are not even aware that their dopamine levels are completely out of balance. So they mindlessly scroll down social media, getting one dopamine hit after another, and that causes them to not being able to appreciate the normal pleasures in life. And by normal, I know this is very subjective, but taking a walk or maybe talking with friends, you always need that stimulation. And that was also happening with me. In my case, I was always into personal development, and in my journey, I love to watch those YouTube videos. I was getting one hit after another because I was learning, right? But in reality, I was hooked and addicted to those videos. For example, when I used to take walks, I could not go outside for a walk without having my earphones on because I had to be productive, right? I was listening and I was really addicted to those talks and motivational stuff and audiobooks. But what that cost me in retrospect is when I was, for example, talking with people, family members or friends, I was really impatient because I had all those perfect speeches and I was listening to those things and they were giving me a lot of dopamine hits, right? So when people took a long time to make a point or they were rambling, so to speak, I was really impatient and I could not pay attention. For a period, I was kind of unpleasant to deal with because I was used to getting those dopamine hits. Because when you're watching those speeches or maybe this video, you'll know it's quite straight to the point and you get tack, you get maybe some fancy edits. And when you're used to that, your dopamine levels are imbalanced, right? Back then I didn't know this, but this is why I'm talking about this first, because I can give you all the tactics and strategies right from the beginning. But if you don't truly understand how dopamine works, and maybe with my stories, it makes it more relatable. So later when I show you how to do it, you'll get better results. This is what is missing in this space, right? Everyone is addicted to those quick fixes, quick tactics, quick TikToks. Of course, I'm also doing some TikTok videos because I myself have to also adapt a little bit to the market, because most people are getting their attention met by those YouTube videos that are short, those shorts, and I'm doing those to capture a portion of my audience. So that's beside this point. Now that's what happens if your dopamine levels are imbalanced, and that is quite frankly the reality for most of us. For me, the problem was social media and this YouTube addiction. For you, it could be something different. By the way, if you're finding this video valuable so far, let me know in the comment section below. It helps me make better videos in the future. Okay, so how do we do dopamine detox? And for that, we want to keep the simple goal of dopamine detox, and that is to limit the overstimulating things in your life. What that means is, what are your bottlenecks? Practically speaking, what that means is identify your bottlenecks. So my biggest bottleneck that is hijacking my dopamine levels is social media. And for me personally, I know I'm working on my YouTube videos. I post YouTube videos, I post shorts on Instagram too. And also I repurpose stuff on TikTok and sometimes on Twitter. But the problem is, as a producer, I also get exposed to the overstimulation, and sometimes I find myself mindlessly scrolling down. And what we sometimes do, especially in the educational space, is we watch YouTube videos or read blogs or tweets because we are learning, right? But that learning can quickly turn into mindless consumption. And to combat that, you want to think very simple. If you don't see something, chances are you won't click to that stuff. And one of the most effective ways to do dopamine detox is to delete all social media. Even if you are working on social media, if you are like me posting stuff, it doesn't matter. Try to delete all those social media channels. A lot of things you can do on the browser, because when you set intentionally friction, you won't use the stuff, and that will keep you sane in this modern age. Otherwise, you will always be mindlessly consuming stuff, and this is not what we want to do. Especially you are ambitious, you have goals, that's why you probably watch this channel. So take control and delete the social media. I delete YouTube. I have no Instagram, I have no Twitter. I only am on YouTube on the browser, or on rare occasions when I'm outside, when I posted a video and I know it is getting some comments to reply to stuff. But 90% of the time, all my social media is deleted, unless it's really crucial. Because let's face it, the biggest bottleneck that you have right now in your life that is preventing you from really achieving the things that you want is social media. So you have to consciously take control of your dopamine levels. And the best way to do it is to limit your screen time as much as possible. Because out of sight, out of mind. Additionally, you want to use no phone days. Identify once a week or maybe once a month a day where you don't use your phone, no devices. That will completely reset your dopamine levels. Now, another thing that has massively helped me optimize my dopamine levels and really become less addicted to those things is to practice stillness. What I mean by that is you want to incorporate some type of meditation. Since I started to practice meditation, everything has completely changed in terms of addiction and focus. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing this perfectly. Sometimes I get sucked into mindless consumption, but personally, meditating each day for 10 minutes I feel has completely balanced my dopamine levels. Another thing in regards to meditation is what I call walking meditations. So whenever I go for a walk, I try to not take my devices with me. Sometimes I take it with me to learn something, that's fine, but most of the time I consciously choose to walk without any devices. And there is a lot of science that confirms that taking walks, especially in nature, can have many benefits. Now, I'm not going into that science in this video. This will completely blow this video up. Now, remember, the key thing here is not to do dopamine detox just once a while. Because I see those ridiculous protocols of some, I'm not saying some names, but on YouTube that are completely missing the point of dopamine detox. Like, for example, I heard some advice like don't talk to people or eat a whole month without salt and like some ridiculous stuff. Right? We want to keep this practical because the point of dopamine detox is to optimize your dopamine levels. And the best way to do it is first, you identify your bottlenecks. What is it? Mine is social media. For you, it could be something different, maybe video games. So keep it simple. The most important thing is to make it a habit. Gradually limit the overstimulating things in your life. At this point of this video, you should know which one these are. And then you want to commit to 7 days or 30 days. Make it a habit. Now, the truth is this, if you're watching videos like Dopamine Detox, chances are you are asking yourself, how can I take more control of my life? Because let's be honest, we won't watch those videos and try to implement those things if we don't want to go to the next level. And for that, dopamine detox is just one part of the equation. It's a very powerful one, but what you really want is to control your mind. And that is the most powerful way to really control your outcomes in life. And for that, I put together this video that you want to watch next. It is very tactical, it goes deep, exactly like this one, because if you truly understand how the mind works, changing your life will be much easier. So if you found this video valuable, let me know in the comment section below. I read all your comments. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for being part of this community.